Tonight, on the box seat, Tim Williams joins us to talk about his massive week in the sulky. Grant Dixon is along and Larry's back. He gives us the latest. Brittany catches up with Carter Delgetty and Hayden Cullen. Michael Guerin is along. What's on his mind this week? And we'll catch all of the markets for the upcoming features for the weekend of racing. All that and more coming right up on the box seat. Yes, it absolutely is. We've got some great information for you here over the next 60 minutes tonight on the box seat. Hello and welcome to our final show for this part of the season before we take a little siesta and come back in the spring for what is set to be a ripper if this part of the year is anything to go by. Greg O'Connor, Brittany Graham are back for the final time. Greg, we've made it 30-something shows deep. No Barneys. Quite enjoyed myself.
Not that you were counting down, Matthew. Hi to you and to Britt. Off the back of a terrific night at Addington Raceway. Last of the Group 1s for this part of the season. Fitting that it was won by the Stonewall team. We're going to hear more and plenty more about them over the next couple of months because they've got strong winter teams, which they haven't had in the past.
Hello, Brittany. How's things?
Really good, thanks, Matt. Looking forward to the show tonight. What a weekend of racing it was. The final Group 1 of the first half of the year, and All-American Player obviously stood up to be a real challenger to Fugitive, but the weekend really did belong to Stonewall Stud, and you were spot on when you pinpointed them only a few weeks ago as a stable with power. Well, they've got power, and they're certainly playing with it at the moment because they are in fine form, and by all accounts, it's going to just continue on.
And we'll get some insight shortly from Tim Williams as well as Grant Dixon, who's going to join us from Queensland. Before then, here's the highlights from last week.
All-American Player and Fugitive. All-American Player offering more for the Checkered Army, and it's All-American Player for the Welcome Stakes to beat Fugitive. Third across was Freeze Frame, fourth looking snazzy. Euro Style at the 50. Oh, she's a class above. Euro Style too good.
Definitely wasn't the best of drives, and a few others out there were, driving super, and, she had to be the best horse, and, she was.
3,200 metres ahead of them. There go the strands, they're off and racing. Now Pinseeker stepped away well. Shepherd's Delight and Homebush Lad were both slow to go. They're going to drift right back. Tempo Warrior began beautifully. And he's off here, Pinseeker. First quarter 28.7 and he's taken his hook. Next on the inside, Homebush Lad. They're getting tired. It's better than cash. And Robbie Close and Regan Todd for the Country Championship final. What a horse race.
He's such a cool wee dude. He's fast. He follows speed that well. And unfortunate for the other connections, that Pinseeker took his hook middle stages. But hey, we were just lucky to be in the right place at the right time.
Hooray Henry's in front, 75 left to go. Hooray Henry's back in winning form. Hooray Henry first. Congrazia Love's in front though, 75 left to go. High Energy's late on the inside, but she's back in winning form. Congrazia Love, the former Group 1 winner. All Eds up on the HR Fiskin passing lane comes through. Dear God's not done with here, but All Eds to get the win. Double Park, the Deafners come out. Look at him hit the hopple. Southside Story, 100 to go. Double Parked on the inside. And here's old Benjamin Button putting himself in the picture again. Double Parked will slip through on the inside. Oh, Double Park, the Iceman. Ice cool drive, and he'll get the prize.
The Lazarus Effect in front. He's starting to shorten stride. Hacksaw Ridge coming again. Always ticking the Lazarus Effect in front. Hacksaw Ridge tries harder, but the Lazarus Effect remains unbeaten. It's the Merc in front, To the Moon and Back's from a gigantic race. Gets into third spot. The Merc in front, To the Moon and Back is flying late, but it'll be too late. And the Merc gets the prize. The Merc first.
The French, and it's the French, it's safely there, it's a Valère Sir for the French here today. Go on, boy, goes on indeed and wins it from 2 and 5.
So as you can see there was a bit happening over the last 7 days in the world of harness racing. We'll catch up with Brittany and Greg and get their highlights for the weekend. Britt, we'll start with you.
It was a big weekend, wasn't it? Plenty happening, but I'm going to head back to Australia for my highlight this week because he is a horse that is close to the hearts of many. Just Believe. There was actually the Victorian Harness Racing Awards last night, and it was announced that he is heading to Living Legends to live out the remainder of his days alongside Sundon's Gift. So it's pretty cool that of the only two standardbreds at Living Legends, they're both trotters. So he'll be there alongside the likes of Prince of Penzance and Apache Cat, Tom Melbourne, a few cult heroes, Beauty Generation's there as well. So it's not located too far from the Melbourne airport, actually, is Living Legends, and it's basically a place that the public can go and see these horses day to day, and they are really legends and treated like them. So something pretty rare, not something that we see a lot in harness racing, but such is the opinion and I guess the reputation that Just Believe has. He will be heading there in about July, and I'm sure that all involved with him are really thrilled because I've heard he's a little bit of a goer. He doesn't probably take to retirement all that well, so he'll be nice and busy in his new role.
Yeah, good on him. That's great news.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is, Matthew. Great weekend of harness racing. My standout was a horse that didn't win. Her name's Boudica. She's only a little horse. Gee, she came from a long way off them in what has been described as the great race, Matthew. A race that you love, the Hydroflow Country Championship final. Look at the little thing, making ground, went past $200,000 in earnings. Spoke to Tony Thomas today. There was some consideration to retiring her after that run, but I understand that that's not going to be the case and that they're going to give her 6 weeks off, probably get her in foal, race her while she's in foal, and he's hoping that might settle her down a wee bit, Matthew, because she gets quite cantankerous. In fact, he's quite a big man, Tony Thomas. I wouldn't have thought there'd be too many horses push him around, but Boudica's done that a few times. So, yeah, that was a highlight for me.
Yeah, they're chalk and cheese, aren't they, Tony and Boudica? What a great job she's done. You remember she ran third in the Group 1 earlier on in the year as well. So she's
just done a magic job, and that's what the game's all about. You know, horses that don't have to be big in stature, but man, she tries hard.
Another horse who is a little bit bigger in stature and tries just as hard and has plenty of talent is Euro Style, and she was definitely the highlight for me last week. And I think it was made all the more better because every other horse in the race with a chance was driven perfectly, and she had to do it the hard way. Stick, not turn, plug still, and I'm pretty sure as well. She's a quality mare, and I love the ride that she's taking Derek and Adele Jones and Kimberly Butt on. So that is my highlight for the week. Another person who had plenty of highlights, 7 of them, in fact, in the sulky, was Tim Williams, and Tim joins us on the box seat here tonight. Tim, on behalf of us all, congratulations on a winning run for you last week. Is there one that stands out? Is the 2-year-old the pinnacle, or was there something else that you enjoyed a wee bit more?
You know, thanks very much for having us on tonight, Matt. You obviously, you nail on the head there, the 2-year-old in the Group 1. Obviously speaking to Stocky at lunchtime on the Friday, and, you know, he asked which one I was sort of looking forward to, and I pointed out that was definitely the race I almost was keen on for the night, and obviously being the Group 1, I know he was very excited to be able to win it. So, yeah, definitely the wee 2-year-old.
Congratulations to you, Timmy. 5 wins anywhere, let alone on a premier night at Addington Raceway. I think it's the second time you've driven a high 5 at Addington, but that takes some doing, mate. And this horse is not the finished product, is he? He's got bottom to him, and the way that he showed gate speed, was able to lead, beat his arch rival in the Fugitive, and sort of prick his ears a few times up the straight too. There's still a bit to come from this horse, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. He's actually a lovely horse to drive, Greg. He's just a real natural 2-year-old. He's, you know, got a great personality and a great gait and a super constitution. And as you say, each run he's just got better and better. And, you know, he's just a natural wee nuggety 2-year-old, and you know, just a pleasure to sit behind.
How did he bounce off that run? And he has another challenge this week, doesn't he, in the Sapling Stakes? And this time he's drawn outside of Fugitive. So your early thoughts there?
Yeah, come through the run really well, Greg. Obviously, he's a super doing little colt, and hasn't faced him at all. So, yeah, look, it's going to be a different race again on Sunday. The draws haven't been as kind to us this week, but you know, other than his last start, it's probably the first time he's been able to use a good draw. So, you know, small field again, and back to the 1700, I think suits him. like you say, he's just getting better and better with the racing. But you can't knock Carter's horse either. He's been the benchmark right the way through, and he was super again the other night too. He was right with me all the way to the line. So it's going to be another great race again on Sunday.
Tim, did he surprise you with his gate speed there on Friday night? Because we were watching him score up and it was nearly as though he was having a good look at the gate, and all of a sudden he switched on and away he went. And as much as he and Fugitive left on pretty equal terms, he seemed to be able to then build even further momentum. That's going to be an asset that's going to be very, very good going forward.
Yeah, look, it's probably one of those ones I always thought it was there. He's just through various reasons up north he hasn't shown it or hasn't needed to show it, but he obviously drawn one the other night. We probably wanted to test the water a wee bit, and he's just really starting to click on with the racing now. That bit of ringcraft and those bigger races up there, it's really starting to come through now. And like you say, you see him during the running still. He's not the finished product. He probably lacks a little bit of attention at times, but he's such a laid back dude. He races without the earplugs, and you just got to click him up once or twice, and he's so willing. He picks the bit up, and the way he left the other night, he really left with the gate with his head on his chest. So it made my job pretty easy, and he was a pretty smooth ride afterwards.
There's a $500,000 2-year-old race in Queensland in a couple of weeks, Tim. I know that Fugitive's been spoken about, and being a slot race as well, there's only a few opportunities. Has that come up in conversation at all, or is Sunday his next grand final, so to speak, and then we'll see him again at the back end of the year?
As far as I know, it hasn't been spoken about yet, Britt, but going forward, I think Sunday sort of was the plan, and then he'll head home and go to the paddock. Like you say, there's still plenty more here later in the season. So, I think Sunday he'll tell us either way.
You won 5 races there on Friday night, and included in those was Arcatia, who seems to be loving life here in the south. Tim, what's been the key with her? Because she seems like she's airborne at the moment.
Yeah, look, she's been a filly, Matt. To be fair, we probably thought how she went the other night was how she'd go first up off her track work, but it's just taken a few runs for her to really put it all together. But like you say, off her track work, you probably would have thought this might have happened a couple of weeks ago. But she's, like you say, just really thrived off the racing, and a female that's happy and in good form, it makes my job very easy.
Music Mistress was another one you won on the night. She looked as though early on, Tim, she was really talented. What was kind of the long time in between drinks with her? Because she was off the scene, came back, first up was okay, and obviously in this race we're about to watch, she showed her true potential.
Yeah, look, she's actually a really smart filly. Obviously, if you go back and watch her early 2-year-old races, she beat some really smart horses, and then she went north and nothing sort of went right, and she got a little bit crook when she got home, and sort of patched her up sort of towards the back end of the season, and we just put her aside and give her a really good break. And probably for no fault of her own, just bad weather and whatnot, she missed a trial. So being 1700 first up, it was a bit of a throw at the stumps, and obviously she, as you can see, she's filled out, and she's a big strong girl now. And I even think the other night she had a good blow again too. So it's just nice to get some racing back into her. But she was one that really excited us early on. She's we didn't think she was sort of far behind the good ones, so it was just really nice to have her back.
You gave them the go-by on Sunday with Bar Louis. He backs up again this Sunday. Tim, to the eye, looked as though he did it with a couple of gears left there at Timaru.
Yeah, look, he's probably a horse we've spent a lot of time slowing him down a little bit. You see, he raced with the hood and didn't have to pull the hood, but he probably got a little bit too relaxed once he found the front. So probably a blessing in disguise. But he's a horse that's really exciting. Obviously, come down with a good rep, and I know Josh and Steve really liked him. And the 3 wins he had up north as a 2-year-old, he beat some handy ones and runs some smart times. So he's another one. Looking forward to sitting behind him again this week.
All right. What about some of the better ones in the stable for the spring? Are they kind of starting to drip feed their way back into work, or are we just a little bit too early for that?
Probably a little bit too early for some of them, Matt, but maybe the forgotten one, Alta Meteor, he's back, and he's probably done a fortnight's jog, and he looks super. So he's probably one you'll see early in the spring will go well.
All right, and can you pick one out for us there on Friday? Is Franco Ezra maybe a chance drawn one in the first?
Yeah, look, he probably is. He'll benefit a lot from the run too. He obviously hadn't had a trial heading into the race the other day. He has a really nice horse. I think he'll do a good job over the winter, and whether he's good enough for some of the better races later on the season. But there's a step up again this week. But he's a horse. He's another one. He's a real cool dude to drive. He doesn't stress about too much, and he's got a good turn of foot. So he's just a nice horse going forward.
All right, you're well into the 900s now, and 1,000 doesn't look too far away with the efforts of both yourself and Stonewall Stud over the weekend. So congratulations once again, and thanks very much for joining us.
No worries. Thanks very much, guys.
Time now to welcome Grant Dixon into the show from Queensland. Grant, nice to have you joining us here on the box seat. I'm sure you're as excited as we are to see Larry back this weekend.
Yeah, me and Trista are super pleased to have him back. He seems really good. So, yeah, looking forward to the race. You know, the draw's a little awkward again, but I'm sure he can overcome it.
Hey, Grant, he's first up since we had him here winning the race by Betcher, and he's got some pretty lofty targets, including another crack at Brisbane Inter-Dominion. So how far off fever pitch would he be for this week, and how much improvement would he have in him?
Oh, look, I think weight-wise, we've probably got to get a little bit of weight off him. But Tristan and I, like, as far as his fitness levels and that, like, we're really pleased at the work he's been doing and his heart rate and that, and he seems particularly bright. So we're happy where we're at. That's why we decided to start him. We thought, well, you know, it's either start him in a race over 200 or, you know, next time run him over a mile and in a trial, and probably, you know, running a mile up in 52.50 or something just to give him a hit out. So we're happy that you know, have him back and get him going, and yeah, just down the road, in case we, you know, miss a run somewhere, at least we've, you know, got this one into him, and hopefully another one somewhere over the next month, and we'll have him on target.
He follows out Speak the Truth, so it might not be all bad. Okay, that was going to be my next question. How many starts will he have between round one of the Inter-Dominion, which of course starts the 5th of July?
Ideally another 2.
Okay, so just 2 runs for him. He is $1.55 to take out that Inter-Dominion, which is the first of 3 years in a row. Of course, we'll be running that series at Albion Park. We look forward to his progress from Saturday night. Let's talk about some of your other runners that you've got, starting with the 3-year-old fillies, which go around in the Q-Bred final. Gee, you've got some talent amongst the team at the moment, headed by Cool and Classy, and of course a recent addition from New Zealand, Captain's Mistress. She's not in this week, but tell us about how she's fitted into the scheme.
Yeah, she's a really lovely filly. Yeah, just nothing troubles her. Her work's been good. She just goes through the motions, no trouble at all. Yeah, looking forward to starting her.
Great. It's great to see Larry back. Really looking forward to it. And obviously the Oaks are big targets for Cool and Classy and Captain's Mistress. But there's some significant 2-year-old races starting off on Saturday night with the Breeders' Classic. And you've got a very good 1-2 punch in the boys division with Fire and Passion and Fight for Victory. You've had a nice 2-year-old for each of the last few seasons, but these 2 boys look well and truly above average.
Yeah, we're really pleased with the pair of them. I think one fella feels stronger than Fight for Victory, and Fight for Victory sort of probably feels a bit faster than the other guy. So they've both got great assets. Yeah, so looking forward to Saturday night, but also looking forward to their careers as we go.
In regards to the Proto Star, which is not all that far away, there's only the 2 runners locked in at the moment. They look logical horses for that. Will we expect to see them locked in pretty shortly?
Look, I think we've got a position for one of them. Which one it'll be, I'm not sure yet, but we're keen to fit the other fella in as well if we can.
Quickly, before we let you go, in regards to Kiwis coming across for the Inter-Dominion, well, we've talked about Captain's Mistress for a few of the other races, but have you picked up Tailored to Use for the Trotters series?
Yeah, we have Greg Mitchell's leased him, but obviously he's a fair way down the rankings, and we've probably got to get going and hope that we can, get some more form on the board with him and see whether he's going to be up to him. He's a really casual guy. He's a beautiful natured trotter and easy to get along with. So we're hoping that he'll measure up.
You've got a bit of depth in the trotters at the moment. Love Gun set a track record the other night. Zealous Spur's been doing some really good things as well. So You've almost got all bases covered at the moment, Grant, you and Trista, in terms of the stable. Arguably, it'd be as strong you've just about ever had it. Obviously, headline act is Larry, but gee, you've got some depth, the 3-year-olds, Fader Waits and the like. So, man, you've got some depth there at the moment.
Yeah, you sort of pinch yourself, at, the horses that we've got around us at the moment. And, we just hope that we can, continue to have a bit of luck with them and have them right on the right nights going forward. And, looking forward to the carnival. And, just fingers crossed that, everything stays right with them. And, we'll go from there.
Well, we're looking forward to the carnival with him as well. Tuning in here from New Zealand, Grant, and we're looking forward to maybe having him here at Addington in November as well. So good luck in the next couple of months, and thanks for joining us here tonight.
No worries at all. Thanks for having us on. Cheers.
So great to hear from both Tim Williams and Grant Dixon in the first part of our show here on the box seat. Plenty more to come. Coming up after the break on the box seats, Brittany heads out to Kentuckiana Lodge to get the latest on their stars. MG chats weanling sales. Would also talk markets. And what's the box seat boost this week? All that's coming right up on the box seat.
Ashburton, you're going to have a few in the 2-year-old races, Freeze Frame and Fugitive, just back to their efforts on Friday night.
I thought they were both super. Firstly, Freeze Frame, he's just ultra consistent, he tries very hard, and just a couple a little bit sharper than him at the moment, but when he goes for a break and comes back, he's going to be a very nice horse. And Fugitive, I was very proud of him. He put in a big effort, tried as hard as he could, and he was great, I thought.
So through Sunday, what's the plans for them going forward?
They'll both be in the Sapling Stakes on Sunday, and then Freeze Frame will definitely go for a break, and then Fugitive probably will. It's not completely out of the picture, the Proto Star, but if he doesn't go there, he will head for a break as well. But Freeze Frame probably won't have too long out because he'll get ready for the Harness Million 2-year-old race, which is early enough, and then Fugitive, he'll miss that and just go for the size.
So just on the two of them, obviously at the moment Fugitive has a better record, but there's not that much between them, you don't think?
I think at the moment Fugitive's, he's just a lot more natural. Freeze Frame we've always liked. He's a beautiful type, he's got a lovely temperament. So I think he's one of those horses when he has a break and comes back, he's going to be right up with the top ones.
And the Queen's Gambit will go around in the Helen Pope?
Yeah, she's been great this prep. She missed a little bit of work before last start at Addington and probably showed the last 100. So, she'll be pretty sharp for this Sunday.
And you'll have one in on Friday night at Addington as well?
Yeah, Maiden, What's My Choice. He's been super a few seconds last few times. And, he's a nice maiden, so the field's not out yet. But whatever maiden he gets in, I think he'll give it a good shake.
Yes, and Fugitive now has the big advantage in the Sapling Stakes there on Sunday over All-American Player having drawn to his inside. We've heard from Tim Williams with regard to All-American Player, and we'll give you our thoughts on the Sapling Stakes a little later on. As we get to the middle part of the show, we now welcome in Craig the Whale Thompson for his catch and release. G'day, Whale.
Yeah, hi team. Great to join you on the box set on a Tuesday night. What caught my eye this week was a young fella getting his first training win in the form of Caleb Bublitz. It happened at Winton last Thursday. Of course, Caleb started his career in the North Island. He's now down south driving and working for Phil Williamson. He trained this one, the son of Royal Aspirations, in the red and the white with the black cap. Huge thrill for him. Of course, this horse was good enough early on in its career, showed so much ability as a 2-year-old to place in a Group 1. So great for Caleb to get a win. Obviously indentured with Phil Williamson, who does a great job, and his first training win after driving 6 in the cart. Catch and release this week. Well, Bobby Buddy's got another really nice one. This one by Always Be Mickey. Was at the Ring Era Trials last week, and I tell you what, it was super impressive. Now, its name is One Eye Bandit. Here it is outside the leader. What I can tell you, its sectionals were outstanding out of this trial. From the 800 to the 400, it ran down the back in 26.9. It's run the last 800 in 28.1, home in 55 on a 2-minute mile rate, and dashed away. This is a family of Matt Major and Point Break. Bobby Butt with another nice one after seeing the Lazarus Effect. Very, very impressive in winning at, of course, Winton last Thursday. Released this week, well, I tell you what, it's a horse that went to Cambridge. It was its name Great White, and it was a little bit disappointing. It was in the trial here for Tony Cameron after getting a beaut run over the 2,700 metres. It just battled the last 100 metres. You can see it there in the black and white, running number 9, dropping out. Now, it was quite heavily backed. It was quite well backed at start before. That was at Auckland when running 5th of 7, and also disappointing at Cambridge prior to that. So the Great White, the whale, will release a shark on a Tuesday night. As far as best bets for me this week, well, I really like one in the form of Iron Love. It was super impressive winning at Alexandra Park, first up after a very long spell. Here it is in Crystal Hackett, out wide on the track, 127 days off the scene, beats Hillbilly Blues in Halberg. It goes back to a mobile after giving them a 20-metre head start, and it's a rating 50 to 75. It gets in here as a 75, beautifully placed. I thought it looked one of the best of the day, and I'll make Iron Love the best of the box seat this week. It's been a wonderful season. Thanks for your help over the last 12 months. Really enjoyed it. Enjoy your hiatus. I'll catch you all next on Whale Watch on Thursday.
Pretty sure you're the one giving us the help, Whale, but nonetheless, thanks to you as well. Looking forward to having you back and catching you each and every week with your Whale Watch. Okay, before we get to Michael Guerin, HRNZ have come out today with a new innovation. It is called the Southern Surge. $440,000 here. Greg, we've got 16 $15,000 heats and 8 $25,000 finals. There's but to indulge here, and all that info's on HRNZ.
Yeah, it is. Look, it's very similar to the Look North promotion, where they're trying to encourage stables to get the horses up and going a little bit earlier. So terrific prize money, $25,000 finals. I can see a number of the Southern trainers, the likes of Nathan Williamson and the like, targeting their teams a little bit earlier, Brittany, than what they perhaps would have.
Well, they're fantastic horse people down there, so they deserve the opportunity to race with them good prize money. And I guess at a time of year where many of them are winding down and potentially exporting horses at this time of year to Australia, it might just entice them to keep them around for a little bit longer. And with that 1st of July cut off, it gives those connections who maybe have horses elsewhere an opportunity to send them in that direction if they're enticed by that opportunity. So a lot of prize money, and here's hoping it's well sought after and we get some really good fields throughout that time period.
Yeah, with $440,000 on offer, somebody has to win it. So looking forward to that in August. As we get to the back half of our show, we welcome Michael Guerin. And now, Mick, welcome back and welcome to our final show. We've had the farewell from the Whale, and we've had your pleasure right through the season, and looking forward to wrapping things up with you today. All right, and you and I, we've got our egos on the line with my best bet. Michael, Euro style, 270, going to take it and run from the outside of the gate.
What I'm saying is, I'm saying it's not a $2 chance, and it absolutely wouldn't win half the runnings of this race. And if I'm wrong next week, I'll abdicate my bet, and you can have 2 choices next week.
Well, I totally disagree. She would win half the runnings of that race 100 times.
Well, let's see if she wins the half that are run this week.
Exactly. And in 7 days' time, Michael, our last show, we can make the whole show about you and I. We can have half an hour each, and we can talk about how good we are.
Matt, I can tell you one thing from backing horses for the last 30 years. Doing this does not help, brother. It's not going to run any faster if you do that. Oh, that's beautiful. Guilty as charged, Matt. First of all, you were completely right, and I was completely wrong. I think she would have won about 90 out of 100 of those races, no matter where they were run or under what conditions. She was absolutely super. So well picked, getting the price right. The punters actually didn't get it very right. I think she went around 2.4, but man, she won like $1.20 chance. And I think a lot more people, Matt, including me in your camp after Eurostyle's performance last week. I was torn watching the race because I wanted you to be wrong, but having seen Derek Jones on the show earlier, Matt, he seemed like such a bonza guy. I thought for him and Adele, I still want them to win. As it turned out, I don't think they had too much to worry about. Could she win a Group 1? Now that we're not going to have maybe Muscle Mountain for not too much longer and maybe Oscar for too much longer. Matt, I know you're the leader of the fan club. Do you think she can win a Group 1 after what we saw last week?
Well, definitely the Group 1 in Auckland, the Group 1 mares race up there for sure. I think she's probably got a bit to prove in terms of taking on the older open class horses, but she can't do much more than what she's done. And as I mentioned earlier, Michael, I think it was made more impressive, and you'll appreciate this, is every other horse with a chance in the race, they had their chance, they were perfectly driven, and they couldn't beat her when she pretty well had the worst run in the race. So, no, I'm thrilled to see her going so well, and I'm sure you'll get me back at some point.
Oh, mate, as I said, I'm stoked that good people have an open class horse from a slightly smaller stable, and Kimmy's been driving her so perfectly, so happy to be wrong on that one, Matthew. I'm not going to abdicate my bet here this week because I found a good one, although you might have just seen it with the whale. We'll get to that in a second. Things coming up. We're not going to be having a box seat of the week of June 26, so we'll mention this to you now. New Zealand Bloodstock and New Zealand Bloodstock Standard Bred having weanling sales on the same day. Now, I'm not sure, and I probably can't prove this is a world first, but I've never heard of it before, and I think it's fantastic. So Karaka, June 26, they sell the thoroughbreds starting in the morning, the weanlings, and then they have a little break and they start with the standard breeds. And usually people, when I talk to them about these types of horses, standard breeds versus thoroughbreds, quite often the thoroughbred people think the standard breeds are a little bit buffhead, one would say. They think they're not quite as beautiful. So we're going to play a game. Yes, we're going to play a game here, and you at home can join along to see if you can tell the difference between a standard bred and a thoroughbred when they're as young as the weanlings that'll be sold at Karaka that day. So here's how we'll start. We'll look at a horse. Here's one. Now, this one's easy. This is easy. You look at that and you go, that looks like a thoroughbred. White blaze, outside Sweet Lou. You're probably thinking there's not many white blazes in harness racing. And if you thought that's a thoroughbred, looks a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, a little bit more mature, you'd be correct. That is a Sotono Aladdin. So Sotono Aladdin went to Gary Harding last year, Henley Road, sorry. That was the name of the mare, 170,000. So we're going to go around the team, and you can play along at home because, believe me, this is not quite as easy as it looks. Try not to look at the backgrounds. Try not to think, well, that's such and such's farm. Here we go, Brittany, ladies first. This is our second lot. Thoroughbred or standard bred, and Britt, you like the sales, so you should have some idea.
Oh, why did I have to go first? I feel like I'm on a hiding to nothing here at the moment, but I'm going to go standard bred.
Any ideas what it's by? One of your favourites. One of your favourites, by the way.
Oh, well, I have lots of favourites. I don't play favourites, Michael. I would have thought a pacer because of the smaller ears. Okay. I'll go with Bettor's Delight. Am I right or wrong?
It's a Captain Treacherous. So 1-0 to Brittany, bought by, you might have seen this horse over the last week when you were down there, Kentucky Arnott Lodge. Who goes next? We'll make it Matt Cross, since you were the dominant punter tipster dude last week. Let's roll in your horse. Standard bred or thoroughbred? And this could be a trick question.
I'm going to say that's a standard breed.
Okay, roll it in, team. See if Matt's right. He did get it right. Just maybe a slightly smaller neck. And Gregory.
Oh, great.
Well, you can't.
I'll say thoroughbred.
You can only draw.
There's no way in the world that you would surely just have standard bred after standard bred. So I'll go thoroughbred.
You reckon that's a thoroughbred?
Oh, I've just made it up.
Do you honestly think it's a thoroughbred?
I have taken it seriously, but why would he roll
I reckon it's a what the hell trotter.
Okay, let's
Oh,
roll it in.
rightio. It's your show, isn't it?
It's a super...
How good.
It's a super set.
And it cost 140 grand. Yeah, the people who are paying 75,000 plus GST, Matt, for a super set service fee are going to be stoked to hear that you think that like what the hell trot is. But I think it's a great concept. What does everybody else think? As wheeling sales, people in the morning buying gallopers into the afternoon, little break. Standard breeds at the same time means they don't need to open Karaka, which is a big complex, twice over a couple of weeks, and there could be a little bit of cross-fertilisation, which we're seeing a lot in the game. So, Gregory, good thing?
Yep, I think so. I really do. You're right. There is a lot of cross-fertilisation between the two codes, and look, the numbers weren't going to be enormous from a standard bred point of view. Of course, they have been bolstered, Brittany, by the Pat Driscoll 7, I think it is, that are supplement to the original draft. So, yeah, I like it.
Well, I agree. I think it's a great idea. And there's always that little bit of a novelty factor the first time something transpires as well. So, firstly, we need these kind of sales to be economically positive for NZB, so this certainly assists in that respect. One, you'd hope that the thoroughbred people stick around and watch the standardbreds and vice versa, so who knows who might end up purchasing horses, Matt. And I agree the fact that there's some really good quality stock, and for the buyers there's great opportunity because a lot of them are sort of the studs that stand these stallions, so they don't have as much of a margin to try and get back. So there's really good opportunity to grab a bargain. And yeah, there's like a tactical landing there for Yabby Dan. There's a very close relation to Call Me the Breeze as well. So it's not as though it's bottom of the barrel stock. There's some really good opportunities.
Michael, the other thing I think which is a positive about having them both on the same day is that two industries coming together. There wouldn't be too many opportunities during the year where some of our smartest people will all be on the same facility, being able to talk ideas and that sort of thing. So in that regard, it's got to be a good thing too.
Yeah, and there's nowhere easier to sell somebody a horse than at the sales ground. Most of the gallops people will buy some, they'll go have some lunch and a beer, and the little harness horses will go past, and it's really easy to walk up to someone and say, would you like a share in this? So well done to NZB. Of course, both catalogues now in play, NZB or their sister site NZB Standardbred. You can approach the finance department there about buying a weanling because, of course, you can take it back and pinhook it through either the sales in January, the centenary thoroughbred sale, the harness sales a couple of weeks later, or if you want to hold on to a bit longer, the ready-to-runs, which produce so many great horses coming up the following November. So lots of opportunities there if you're thinking, how would I go about that? We've had a lot of this on the show recently. I'm not thrilled to be doing it again, but we have had a couple of losses in the industry. It's been a common theme. Jamie Searle, who we mentioned a few weeks ago, an outstanding journalist and bloody good bloke from Southland, gallops and harness man, probably a lot more of a harness man in his earlier days, passed away last week. He had been under the weather. We all knew that. He was stoked to have a mention on the show a couple of weeks ago to Jamie's partner and to all his friends down there. We're very sorry to hear he has left us. And on a more personal note, a guy who is a vet and was a great, great vet in the mid-Canterbury region, the boss of the Tyndall Veterinary Clinic, Graham Shearman, passed away this morning in a hospital in Christchurch. Now, Graham was a horse trainer. He trained a horse called Barabbas, who was New Zealand 2-year-old trotter of the year, but he was the man who helped the great horses. Sir Castleton, Simon Katz, C. Swift, who won an Auckland Galloping Cup. Hell of a good fella, very, very knowledgeable fella, hard-living man. He liked his whiskey and he liked to go to the races and have fun. But for all those vets, he encapsulated what they do, male and female, around Australasia to help keep our horses healthy. Graham passed away this morning alongside his beautiful partner Winsome, and he was just an example of some of the great people in racing. So to Jamie and Graham, we say farewell to you, and hopefully, guys, when we come back at the back end of 2025, there'll be a lot less of that carry-on.
Well said, Michael. We couldn't have put it any better ourselves. As we take you to a break here on the box seats, Brittany caught up with Team Cullen, that's Hayden and Amanda, to see how things are faring at their new base.
Hayden, well, you're settled back in. It must nearly feel like coming home.
Yeah, it does, Brittany. Yeah, it's a a great place to train out of. A very spacious barn, good tracks, and lovely big paddocks for the horses. So no, they've all settled in well too.
What about the 3-year-old fillies? You've obviously got a really good group, so that must be promising going forward.
Definitely, yeah. They're having a 6-week break as well. So very proud of what they achieved so far this season. And we've always thought they'll take a bit of time. So the 6 weeks will do them the world of good. And they've got some good races coming up later on in the year.
3 for Addington this Friday. Hadron Collider is probably in that group of up-and-comers, but a lovely horse.
He's a lovely horse, yeah. He always goes an honest race, he trained nice this morning, so he should go another honest race again this week.
What about Trump Card? What sort of opinion do you have of this horse? It was a narrow win last time out, but he never really looked as though he was going to get beaten.
No, Blair was pretty confident. He said he hadn't covered. So look, he's been pretty faultless to date. We had a pretty high opinion of him last time in, but we got him out for a good break, and he's come back, and he seems to be hitting peak form at the moment.
And Major Cyclone will be back as well.
Yep, I like him. Yeah, he's been a bit of a handful to get him trotting right, but we had a real good morning this morning with him. So fingers crossed for Friday night with him.
Here's what's on this week in harness racing. We kick things off on Thursday at Cambridge with a 7-race card. King's birthday weekend begins on Friday Night Lights out of the Addington Raceway. They'll be joined by Alexandra Park, with them hosting their Metro Finals night. Sunday, we're off to Ashburton. It's Sapling Stakes Day. And join us for the Bluff Cup on Monday out of Ascot Park. You catch all of that on Trackside at trackside.co.nz. Not sure if that bloke was trying to sell you something there on an infomercial or not, but nonetheless, you can put the phone in your hand, push play, and away you go. You can watch all of these races that we're about to preview. And we're going to start you away with the Sapling Stakes. Time-honoured race, Greg. You think back into the 80s, the 90s. Oh, this was one of the races that trainers targeted. I don't think in the last couple of years it's been numbers-wise as big as what it has been in the past, but as we saw with the winner last year, he went on to do a pretty good job.
Yeah, Marketplace, of course. 2 outstanding 2-year-olds thus far, Fugitive and All-American Player. Both of them went head-to-head last week. Brittany, it was a great home stretch battle. This time, advantage goes to Fugitive. And, of course, the other battle they had was up at the Young Guns. So, this will decide supremacy at this stage of the season anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a lot between them, to be honest, Greg, and I think it's going to come down to pace and position. Obviously, it's advantage Fugitive after the barrier draw. They left pretty well on terms with each other last week, so I think now that we've figured out All-American Player has gate speed, they're pretty comparative in that respect as well. Michael, it would surprise me probably if All-American Player went back. There's a few inexperienced horses drawn down low. I say, why not? It's a grand final for both of them, really, for this part of the year, so he's hoping we have a horse race.
Yeah, it's a word we mention a lot, intent. I mean, Carter tends to be a front-of-the-field driver when he's on a good horse. So if he goes forward, would he hand up to the other horse? If he does, it can beat him. I don't think he can sit parked outside him and beat him because I don't see any other pressure in the race. So I think the market's about right. I think they'll probably both even potentially tight and everything else will just go out to astronomical odds because there's no reason for anybody to want to back anything else in the race. But for me, on top, Fugitive, clearly.
Greg, are you one or the other? Have you pinpointed one?
Probably this week, just draw-wise.
What does Tim do?
Oh, if it's his last run, why didn't he let him go?
Yeah.
Just let him roll.
Let him slide.
Yep.
And even if they're going hammer and tong, the two of them, one or the other is going to be
going to get the trail of the other.
So, okay, good race. Helen Pope, 2-year-old fillies. This is a wee bit more open than the Sapling Stakes. So I think a pretty talented horse here by the name of Always by Night, Greg. This horse has shown up particularly well at the trials and She looks to have a bit of bottom to her.
Yeah, and she's got breeding as well. This will be a good race. Treacherous Me, excellent first up Addington. Franked that by winning at Winton last time. The Queen's Gambit is well-rounded, and I think she'll give them something to think about. And Ideal Crown hasn't had a lot of luck lately, Brittany, and barrier draw-wise hasn't had much either here. But there's a bit of a war up front. There's no reason why she won't be hitting the line.
No, I think she's probably just as good as any of the other fillies. She just hasn't had a whole lot of fortune, and I thought her effort last time out was super. Treacherous Me comes up with the inside gate, Michael. She showed good gate speed there last time out, but I don't think she was quite as sharp in front at her second start as she was first up. So a few big decisions to be made by Nathan Williamson, but he'll likely make the right one.
Yeah, and she's a really good-looking horse to me. I like the fact that she's still very early in her career, but she has more experience than some of those other favourites. I just don't like backing debutantes when they are racing horses who have winning form. Because I know one horse can win a race, but I have no proof the other horse can win a race. And that's in both codes. Unless it's from a stable that just regularly produces fresh-up debutante winners, and there's not many of those. Then I just won't back first starters against horses who have won a race. What we're seeing a lot more as the trend in harness racing at the moment is our favourites are getting backed in really heavily. We're seeing a lot of horses like that trotter last week I tipped, it was $2.60 to start with, it went to $1.55, and that's just regular. And our favourites are coming in. I think that might happen here to Nathan's horse, and then you get the others blowing out the door. We've seen a lot of horses, like the filly Nathan had who won the Group 1 up here a few weeks ago. They're being $3 or $4, but if people don't want them, they just do not want them. I think it started at $13. And I think probably 3 or 4 years ago, Treacherous Me's $2.50 in this race. I'm like, well, I can probably wait. What I'm finding now is if it's a big stable horse with a big stable name behind it, so many times now we're seeing those horses are the punters, Matt, that people come for. So I'm actually starting to think some of those tighter odds early doors are ending up being value.
Speaking of tight odds, Bar Louis is short in the Rural Accountants 3-year-old Champion Stakes. This over 1,700 metres. The worrying thing for him here, Brittany, is you've got a horse like Malachi, who I'd just about put the house on it to go forward from barrier number 8. He's 650. There could be 6-7 lengths between them over 1,700, and with Malachi's form here, I'd be shopping him each way. What say you?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some nice progressive 3-year-olds at really big prices here. I've carried on about Artful Bromac for a little while, Greg. I love him. I think he's going to win a nice race shortly, and he's finally come up with a barrier draw, and he's at $41. It's just that kind of race. I think the market's tight enough at the moment, and we'll see some market movement.
Yeah, I don't mind Mickey Flyby either. His run behind Arcatia was excellent. She's come out and won again. I'm with you. Look, Bar Louis bolted in at Timaroon. Didn't he look big and strong? And over the shorter course, though, Matthew, it's not an easy track to make a lot of ground up on.
Yeah, and particularly drawn inside second row, bit of traffic. Michael, is there something in here that catches your eye, or are you happy to take the $2 around Bar Louis?
No, I don't like to take $2 about horses off the second line over a sprint trip, and as Greg said, they do struggle to make ground. I think he's the best horse in the race, but I think Mickey Flyby is a really good horse. I think he is one of the horses who is going to be one of the reasons that as we end the show now, when we come back with the show September-ish, Team Telfer will be in front of the premiership. They have been massive movers this week. They went 280, even after winning those 7 races Friday night. They were still 280 when Arcatia hit the line. They went to 240. They're now $1.80. And I think people are getting their heads around just how many numbers they have. But they have an awful lot of horses in the lower grades. They have a truckload of horses who are 1 or 2 in horses. And Steve Telfer's telling me he's going to have 16 to 18 to play with in the north, and then that massive barn down home. I told everybody who would listened to me the last 3 or 4 days, just back them, because I'm not sure they'll win. And this is by no means any disrespect to Michael House, who is doing an amazing job. But Gregory, you and I were talking about this a couple of days ago on the phone. There's only 3 more Manawatu meetings this year. I went through them to count up thinking, oh, yeah, there must be half a dozen. There's only 3, and I'm not saying Michael House can't win outside Manawatu, but that's where he's had over 50% of his wins, and there's always the chance that Team Telfer can send horses there. I think that market, I think it's moved 60 cents or close to it since Sunday.
Yeah, look, I totally agree with you. And the other part about it is if they need to, and you say there's 3 meetings, so there's 3 double headers, so that's 6 meetings. If they need to, Steve and Amanda, they can send horses down there, and every one win they get at Manawatu is one that Michael House can't get. So, yeah, I can see why the market has changed considerably. Addington's got a good program, Matthew, on Friday night.
I thought a good betting night as well. There doesn't look to be too many short-priced favourites there, barring maybe one horse, Hadron Collider. I was just scrolling through quickly, and you know when one just pops out of the page at you, I think he was it.
Yep, absolutely, and he has opened up pretty short. We're going to help you with that very shortly. $1.80. Stablemate Trump Card comes up with a beautiful barrier draw. I could see Brittany a lead trail scenario here. Trump Card led last time. I don't know that he was that comfortable in front, to be honest. He didn't get there by much.
He can't run past Hadron Collider, can he?
I wouldn't have thought so.
If Hadron Collider's in front.
I wouldn't have thought so. He's a pretty good horse, Hadron Collider. I don't remember who beat him last time.
Absolutely, yeah, Sideshow Bruce. I guess the one thorn in the side could be Mickey Nose, but I'm also not sure he has enough tactical speed to get in between the two, because I feel as though he's been quite good his last couple of starts, and he's just that sort of horse that if you could get out rolling in front, I think he'd give them something to chase, Michael, but I'm just not sure if he's rapid enough off the gate to hold out Hadron Collider, who is pretty quick.
Yeah, he is, and then the form has been all around those good horses. I think some of it's been just adequate. I think sometimes Hadron Collider doesn't want to get into a Barney, but he may not have to get into a Barney this week. He might just get the lead off his stablemate. The good news is, when I looked at them, I thought $1.80 too short. Then again, I thought the same thing about Eurostar last week, Eurostyle. But we might have a little bit of a bonus for you. You could technically, in a couple of minutes, make a case that you can back them both and still make some money.
All right, very good. Remember when he won the Sires Stakes Heat, Cambridge was it? He was in front. And we were always talking about him probably not being as good in front, but he's a bit older now.
Yeah.
You're $1.80 shot. You want to see him go forward. You want to see him lead. And I think we'll see him win.
Don't forget New Zealand Cup Day. He went head-to-head with Rakiro
Rocket.
And he only got him in the straight. So he's a pretty fair horse.
Oh, okay, all right. I like this. And I like what price we've got too, because I know we're going to tell you what it is very shortly. Race number 6 at Alexandra Park. Good night up there. Of course, we have got the Metro Pacers final, the first of them. Double parked, looking for another, is 3.10. Hooray Henry, a good winner last time at $8. And Carrera Hombre here off the inside draw. Brett is clearly the horse with the advantage.
Yeah, he was pretty unlucky last week. Not much went right. He ended up getting a bit of a shuffle, and I thought in a quick enough last half, Greggy couldn't have done a whole lot more. Twister's going to get an economical run. I'd assume Carrera Hombre is the most likely leader, but there's a few speedsters drawn out wide as well, including Hooray Henry.
Yeah, I like Carrera Hombre, Michael, from the barrier draw, but this is what these series are all about. You bring the form lines together and you get a cracking betting contest. What do you like?
I spoke to Zach Butcher today about his drive, and he said, I think Carrera Hombre is the one to beat. My horse needs a bit more time. But I think David Butcher's got a pretty nice hand to play here. You Little Beauty is a better horse than people realise. And they came home in a 56.4 last time. Driven cold, it must have come home under 56. I'm not saying it's going to beat the other horse, Carrera Hombre's top pick, but it's $12. So you can make a case to back it even top 4, because she's a pretty nice type of a horse. So good to see David, who's working alongside Ben, having some winning chances coming to Alexandra Park.
What about the Trotters final, Brett?
I'm not sure it's as straightforward as it may look on initial thoughts. We've got Higher Power drawing 1, but...
Market says it's straightforward.
I mean, these two look the obvious two, but I think there's a few others around them. Higher Power, I don't think is completely suited by the 1 gate. Just wants to get up the track a little bit, and I don't think 1 suits trotters when they draw, and that's kind of their pattern. We saw it nearly in the Sires Stakes. You never know, draws directly alongside, but there's some horses at some big prices there. Big fan of Illicit Love, bit of a tradesman, just flies under the radar. And at a huge price, Crazy. If High Power's out in front and Crazy sitting in behind the speed, has been hitting the line, was completely luckless last time out. So looks a race in 2. I'm not so sure.
All right, $80 about Crazy, if you don't mind. I like Illicit Love. What about you, Michael?
I spoke to Zach about the barrier 1. He said it is a little bit of a concern. He said, but I think I'll be fine. And the horse is learning all the time. I thought he was really solid last week, but Tony's horse is a good horse. He ran, second to meant to be in the Derby or the Sires Stakes it was. He's a good horse. I think one of the two will win, but higher power, the question's going to be, because I agree with Britt, Crazy could follow through, but Tony might try and sneak down there in front of Crazy, who can be a bit crazy. So I'm happy to go higher power because he was in a significantly stronger heat last week. Then you never know. But I think in 18 months, they're both open class horses, and most of the rest of these are.
Have you got a best for us, Britt?
Thrown the toys.
Go out on a high?
I've thrown the toys completely, and I'm going to find a 3-year-old trotter of all things to try and savour me at this late stage. But Paddy McDaddy I really like. I think is a horse on the way up. Looks a great staying type. It's been good in the last few. There was just that one-off, but I think he had excuses on that occasion, and I believe he's a horse to beat early on in the card on Friday here at Addington.
Be a good race, that. Wilmer's Boy
Really
now
good.
with Paul Nean and Major Cyclone on the return. Michael, you can speak on behalf of yourself and the Whale.
My large aquatic friend, yes. Iron Love comes in beautifully. Won this off a 20-metre handicap, goes back to the mobile, not a strong field. You're getting $3. It is a prime example of a horse, I would think, who wouldn't be sticking around $3, because I don't see the punters wanting to back much else in the race. I could see it closing $2. Just since it's our last show, to the bookmakers and everybody who involved at the tab, thank you for getting these markets out on a Tuesday. It's a hell of a job. It is world-leading service. Don't mind, I like giving the bookies a hard time, but this is world-leading service, and it has enabled us to do all the things we're doing on this show. So, Gregory, we're incredibly lucky to have that. It's there's nothing else like it anywhere else.
No, there isn't. Team headed up by Ben Grimstone, and thanks very much to you guys because it makes the show. It means that we have stuff that we can talk about relative to the fields that have, for many people, is the first time they're having a look at it. Right,
We're
best
still
bet
out,
for me.
we're still out to get them, though.
Oh, absolutely, and we are. And this week, both you and I like this horse, Hadron Collider. Won't be driven by that bloke, though. He's on trump card. Spoke to Hayden Cullen today. He said, look, I'm going to put Blair on trump card. Sam Otley will drive Hadron Collider. I think she'll get going nice and early on him. He was great last time behind Sideshow Bruce. I think he's a fantastic bet, and I reckon he's an even better bet at that price. Matthew, please bet responsibly. But we've had a little bit of success with our box seat boosted. We've had a couple of unlucky runs. I don't think we'll be unlucky this week.
I wouldn't bet responsibly at that. $3 I think is an absolute
Well, you have
steal.
to. You can only spend half.
My theory on it was that you and I always stick together, and I thought last show, if we balls this up, then we're in it together.
Yeah.
Aren't we?
And who will remember in September?
No one will care. But at $3, I think as good as the bookies have been, they got one over us with Pinseeker, who was a bit unlucky last week. I think that's very generous from them.
Yeah, it is.
Because they obviously know we might cop a wee bit on this at $3, but they're happy to.
Well,
like
last
that.
week I think the liability was something like 70, maybe even 80,000 by the time they jumped. And like you say, Pinseeker was hitting the wheels, and that was just unlucky. He went awesome after that. But we'll get it back this week, people.
Yep. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure having you here the whole season. Britt, you for most of it. Nice to have you as part of the Box Seat family. And the same to you as well, Michael. We appreciate your input, and we appreciate you at home for joining us here on the Box Seat. We're on about a 3-month hiatus now. We'll rejoin you back in the spring. Stay warm and happy punting.